Peace and love, family. Let's get into this 5-ingredient homemade walnut milk. It's delicious, it's easy, and you can make it at home using any kind of nut you want. I'm going to show you how to make your own milk so you can stop buying store-bought milk. Thank me later, and make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Let's get to these 5 ingredients. Okay, I am using walnuts. You can use any nut that you want. I also have some spring water. You can use any water that you want. I have some dates. Dates are a great source of energy. I'm also adding some vanilla extract. I'm adding some cardamom, and I'm adding some cinnamon. These two pair well together, so they're optional.
The key to getting great walnut milk is to soak your walnuts. So here I have 4 cups of walnuts that have been soaking for a few days. The longer you soak them, the better. Obviously, it doesn't have to be a few days. You can do a few hours, and you want to use boiling hot water, especially if you're going to do it for a few hours. If you're gonna let them soak for a couple of days, or at least 6 to 8 hours or more, then you can use room temperature water. Put them in your bowl or your container and place them in the refrigerator until you are ready to use them. So now I'm going to drain the nuts, and we're going to transfer them to our blender, Vitamix, and we're going to add more water and our other ingredients here. As you can see, I've added the walnuts to the blender. I also added half of the dates. So I started with 8 dates and I peeled them. I didn't like the way that some of them look, so it may not be 8, but you can use as many as you like to your tasting. I chopped them up, as you can see, so it's a little easier for them to grind. I've added 2 cups of water in here already, and I'm going to add 2 more cups. This recipe calls for 4 cups of water with 2 cups of walnuts, but I have 4 cups of walnuts, cups of water. So I'm going to put a little bit of cardamom in here, a little bit of vanilla. I do not measure, I just pour until the spirit tells me to stop. So this is our milk blended, and this is our bowl. I have a strainer and I have a nut bag. I am going to pour the milk inside of the nut bag and let it strain through here. And then I'm going to do the other half of the nuts. And then we're going to put it all back together and run it through one more time just to make sure that we've gotten all of the nut particles out.
Okay, so we finished with our milk, and we're gonna go ahead and strain it in our nut bag and our strainer that's underneath there to get all of the nut particles out of our milk. Now that we've set that to the side, we are going to start working on the second half of our milk. So what you want to do is start low, and then you want to gradually increase the speed to the highest for a few seconds and then bring it back down.
Okay, so this is how much
speed.
milk we achieved from the first batch. This is almost 4 cups of milk. This is the second batch, so we're just basically going to do the same thing. I have another nut bag here, so we're going to strain this.
Okay, so now that we have our second batch done, we are going to go ahead and drain that in our nut bag. This is definitely a tedious process, but it's the most important process in this step. You want to make sure that you drain all of the liquid from the nut particles. You want to squeeze your bag really well. Listen, if any of you use a nut milk maker, please drop your suggestions below, or if you use a different kind of nut bag that drains really well, please drop your recommendations below. Appreciate it.
Walnut milk, 8 cups of water, 4 cups of walnut yields almost 64 ounces. That's amazing. So I'm gonna taste this. Let's see if we need to add anything else.
Yum. So the milk was so delicious. Now that I've tasted it, I am gonna go ahead and add it back to the blender. This is both batches that we've completed, and I have some ice in my blender that's going to cool the milk down. The ice is optional. However, it is going to heat up your milk once you turn on the Vitamix. Well, I don't know about a low speed blender, but at least in the Vitamix. So it's important that you add your milk. Look at this milk, y'all. It looks so creamy, right? So delicious. Ooh, I can't wait to drink it and use it in my cereal and all my other dishes.
I'm gonna add just a little bit more cinnamon. And this is just the final strain so that we can make sure all of the nut particles are out. So we have some ice in there to cool it down. I'm gonna add 4 more dates in here. Try to break these up as small as I can since I'm not chopping them. And then we're going to blend this. We'll pour it in our bowl with our nut cloth.
Okay, y'all, so this portion of the movie got placed in here at the wrong section, but I am the content creator, producer, and editor, so we're gonna make it work because this was an important step that I wanted you all to see. So this is the first batch that we're working on. The previous slide, I said that we were finished with both batches, and somehow we're back to batch 1 or batch 2, not completed though. So this is the second batch. That's the first batch sitting over there. So I wanted to put it back into the blender one more time to make sure that we got all of the particles out. So you're going to start on a low setting, maybe like 5 or 6, and then you're going to gradually increase it to about 10 for a few seconds, and then you're going to bring it back down. So this is the milk that was produced when we ran it back through for the second time, as you can see there. And then in the bowl we have the other batch that is ready to drain. That was the little bit of particles that was left from the first batch. So we ran it through 2 or 3 times to make sure that we got everything out. It was only a small pocket left, but you want to run it through as many times as possible to make sure that you have all of those particles out, because you do not want your milk to be gritty. Yes, twirl. Yes, get into it. Get into her. Left. You see it. You see it. All right, so now we're gonna taste it to make sure that we don't need to add any additional ingredients. No more dates, cinnamon, or cardamom. So you want to make sure you taste your milk. If you need to add anything, just go ahead and add it back to the blender and give it another blend one more time. This tasted absolutely delicious to me, so I didn't add anything else. I am ready to pour them into their storage containers. So as you see me pouring this, you see the beautifulness of this homemade milk. Look at it. It just goes into the container. So smooth. So easy, so delicate. Only 5 ingredients. Okay, let me focus. So let me give you all a pro tip for thicker walnut milk. After I made this video, I learned that if you boil half of your milk and then pour it into the other half, it will thicken it. I did try that method. It absolutely works amazing. I boiled my milk for maybe about 5 or 10 minutes on low to medium heat. You don't want to boil it on too high of a heat and end up scorching your milk. I'm pretty sure that's possible. That was my first time trying it, so I just did it on a low setting and then gradually increased it. Let it boil for about 10 minutes. Then I poured it to the other half of the mixture, placed it in the refrigerator, and the next day it was very, very thick. So I highly recommend you trying that method if you prefer a thicker milk. This will be a little thin, but the flavor is there. So for me, it doesn't really matter. So as you can see, this batch of walnuts yielded us about 16, well, I don't know how big these jars are actually, but 1 jar and then another jar and a half. The milk lasts for 7 days. You can store it in your refrigerator. So this is definitely plenty enough milk to use for your cereal, your mashed potatoes, any of your recipes that you use milk. Just replace it with this, and you no longer have to buy store-bought milk. And voila, we have 5 ingredient homemade delicious walnut milk. Make sure you try this with your favorite nut. Like, subscribe, and share. Peace.